you want to talk about the NFC North in general? Because all those games were like
Exciting.
all the teams. Well, I wouldn't say all the teams won because the Detroit and Chicago played each other, but it felt
Chicago.
like both teams won.
Right.
I truly thought like they both won that game.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So let's start with obviously Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Big game on the road against Buffalo. You know the Vikings. You know they were a one-loss team, and I think everybody thought like, okay, you know they're a fun team. You know their record's good, but they need that signature win.
I think it's the Philly Junior. You know, they were looking like Philly Junior, where you're like, it's good. The record is really good. Like I like what I see. They look like they have everything, but like
Right.
I'm not sold. But the difference is I am now sold on Minnesota more than Philly.
Yeah, I agree. I think for the Vikings, you know, obviously the snack by Justin Jefferson in the fourth quarter, 4th and 18.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk Cousins Perk Cousins, as I'm gonna call him
Yeah.
from here on out. Uh,
Non-prime time Kirk.
12 o'clock kickoff. Kirk is elite.
Mm-hmm.
Make no mistake. But you know, 4th and 18, game on the line, and you see, I think it's Dane Jackson, the Bills DB, has his hands on the ball. You know, and you see Jefferson with the one hand up, come down with it, and that game was full of just pure nonsense in that fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo obviously kind of I think sold more than anything,
Mm-hmm.
but hey, a win's a win, especially for a team like the Vikings. Where again, like you mentioned, I think the outside chatter with them was the record's good, they're a one-loss team, they have all these weapons, but much like Philly, you didn't have that signature win against an elite playoff team, and now you do.
Exactly. And it's not just the Buffalo Bills. It was Buffalo in Buffalo. Their only knock that I would have against it was that Josh Allen wasn't perceived to be 100%. That was the whole talk of,
Mhm.
this week was is if he's going to play or not.
Right.
And do you think that had an effect on this game?
No, I mean, I kind of think with Buffalo, in particular, Josh Allen, he played very Brett Favre-esque there at the end, trying to play hero ball. And, I think Buffalo maybe needed this loss because I think this is a team that maybe throughout the year have bought into the hype of, oh, they're an automatic contender for the Super Bowl. They were a coin toss away last year from going to the Super Bowl. Like, I think Buffalo needed this loss in the way it happened to kind of, get back to reality. What happened last year was great, but forget last year. That doesn't count. Like, this is a new season.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone got better. Obviously, in the AFC, everyone got so much better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, if you're a team that is looking to compete, you got to put last year behind you and move forward. This is a new season. And, again, they ultimately, I think, costed themselves this game. But I think they needed this to kind of cool down and realize, hey, there's still X amount of games left. We got to play every single game to the fullest, and nothing's given in the playoffs. You could be a 1 seed to get bounced by a 7 seed. It happens. It's happened before. So,
yeah, 100%. So, do you want to move on to the Detroit game?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So Detroit, I mean, that was all offense
Yeah, yeah.
between the Bears and the Lions, and I think kudos to the Bears for finally realizing, hey, we got a mobile quarterback. He has legs.
Let's use his mobility, not because I like how they weren't just using him as a runner, but they were like playing to his abilities. So they were doing these little bootlegs,
RPOs,
to the right, moving everybody to the right, where he could just get out of the pocket and then just sling it where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Like that touchdown to Cole Kmet.
Yep.
So I like what I saw there, and then with the Lions, I don't know what their offensive identity is still, because DeAndre Swift, it still seems like he's not 100%.
They just put up points.
Exactly.
the Lions just put up points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Lions, to me, I know everybody, myself included, bought into the hype of the Lions in the offseason with Hard Knocks and going forward. And I think it didn't get off to quite the start we expected. But, obviously last week against Dallas, they were competitive, pretty much up until the fourth quarter when the offense imploded and, turnovers kind of took that game away.
Mm-hmm.
But then, that was 2 weeks ago. And then last week against Green Bay at home, you got a big win against the Packers, which really has not happened in Detroit in a long time, in the middle of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then this week, you go on the road and you put up, 30-plus points, and the defense ultimately comes through in the end,
Mm-hmm.
which had kind of been the problem for the Lions, up until this point.
Mm-hmm.
So the defense came through. And who knows, they got 2 first-round picks this year. I think Dan Campbell still is the right guy for this team.
I think he needs
Another offseason or two to kind of acquire more talent is what it is.
Well, not only talent, but I think coaching staff around him could be a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they're quite there up to standard,
Yeah, and I mean, and I think that's expected with young teams.
Mm-hmm.
So Dan Campbell's just trying to figure it out. And like I said, Jeff Okudah, the former top pick out of Ohio State, 3 years ago, has really kind of had a rough start to his NFL career. Had a pick 6 against the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
He's had a really great season for them. And, I kind of thought maybe like, dang, if you were a contender, you should have tried to trade for him at that deadline because he's having a low-key great year as cornerback 1 for that team.
Mm-hmm.
But the Lions, I like the direction. Acquire more talent, and, I think if you don't like or if you don't get the quarterback, whether it's Young or Stroud in the draft at 1 or 2, I can run it back with Jared Goff one more season. Because Jared Goff has shown me to the least he's not the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Jared Goff, and now even in LA, I mean, I know it's a different team when compared to Goff was there, but Jared Goff is serviceable.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a serviceable quarterback.
He's not like gonna go
serviceable.
above and beyond, but he's gonna be like Jimmy G level.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
He's not gonna throw a game away, but he's not gonna crawl his way back into a game either.
Exactly, but he is what he is, and I think if I'm the Lions, especially this year because he's played because obviously Amon-Ra has developed into a solid wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with he's a guy who could play next year if they opt to not draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
So
if they like someone they see a couple of years from now, I wouldn't be shocked.
For sure. And then obviously with Chicago, seeing them kind of build the offense around Justin Fields because of the lack of playmakers at the tight end and at the receivers is very nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
Because for the first 5-6 weeks it looked horrible.
Oh yeah,
because the offensive line couldn't block, they couldn't run the ball, and the Bears had Fields sitting in like a pocket passer, and that's just not his MO.
Mm-hmm.
It's the RPO. He likes to, as you mentioned, with the motion, getting guys lined up and kind of give Fields the option to run around and make some plays. And if I'm the Bears, you have your quarterback. Now it's all about can you build around him and get the right pieces around Fields because you have your quarterback.
And I like what you said about right pieces, not the best pieces, because I think a player that I think is a good piece, but it's not fitting the scheme is like people like Darnell Mooney. I understand think he's just kind of your vertical guy. He's just a more physical receiver.
Right.
I think you need someone that's like a little bit more of a route runner. You need a crisp, route runner in that.
I think the perfect guy. I think the perfect comp. I think, think about RG3 back in 2012, his rookie season, and his offense, his game was almost kind of identical to a sense to Justin Fields, but a great guy. The Redskins signed was Pierre Garçon from the Colts.
Yes,
Garçon was a very tough, come across the middle of the field, take a hit, will run all the routes right, a very good receiver, and I think that's the kind of guy you need for Fields. So we'll see. It's gonna be an interesting offseason for the Bears, to say the least. And like I said, they have their quarterback. Quarterback's not the problem in Chicago anymore. Now, can you just please, for the love of God, build around him? Because that is your quarterback. He's good.
Exactly.
Can you just build around it?
And you're gonna need to now upgrade that defense again. Like it's kind of crazy to see the turnaround on that defense. How it was a really bad defense, and then we saw it get really good in 2017, and now to just see that really tank is just kind of devastating.
I mean, they traded away Roquan Smith for a second-round pick, and then they traded away Robert Quinn for a fourth.
That's what I thought.
So you get draft picks nonetheless, and I mean, that's going to help you out this year a ton as far as the rebuilding process goes.